My Life 360 app saved me from an intruder. For some background, there's an app called Life 360 where you can add your friends and family on, and essentially you can all see each other's current and past locations. You can set alerts to be notified when someone comes home or leaves, arrives at work, etc. It's really good and I recommend it to everyone. You can never be too safe nowadays. 2 months ago, I was at home waiting for my boyfriend to get home. I got an alert at around 6 p.m. letting me know that he has left work. It usually took him around 45 minutes to get home. I got up from the sofa and headed upstairs to run myself a bath. My bath was ready in about 10 minutes, and as I was doing other bits while waiting for it to cool, when I heard a thud downstairs and through the closed bathroom door, assumed that was the front door. I shouted something along the lines of, "I'm taking a bath." I heard him walking along our very creaky floorboards and assumed he was in the kitchen grabbing some dinner. It was about 5 minutes later when I picked up my phone to put on some music and I realized I never got an alert on my phone from Life 360 saying my boyfriend had arrived home. So I went into the app to make sure I didn't mess about the settings by accident. And I kid you not, my blood ran cold when I saw that my boyfriend had stopped at a patrol station and was still about half an hour away. I could still hear the floorboards creak downstairs very lightly, as if someone was trying to tiptoe but was unable to. I had no idea what to do. I called my boyfriend. He didn't answer. And when I didn't hear his phone ring from downstairs, I freaked out even more. I have horrible anxiety and could feel an attack coming on. I left the bathroom and walked into the bedroom as quietly as possible. I shoved my desk chair under the knob as it didn't have a lock. I don't know why, but I didn't think to call the police then. I was so focused on getting out that all my other thoughts and senses just disappeared. I say lightly now, but this was not the case in the moment. I proceeded to basically Mission Impossible it out of the bedroom. We had a shed under the window, large enough for me to safely get on top of it and then jump off from it and into the garden. The only issue was that I had to make my way down the garden alley, where I would have to walk past the large window and door where he would be able to see me very clearly. I was so scared. I kept taking peeks into the window and couldn't see anyone. I felt more confident to run past and took one last peek, and he was there, looking right at me. Not even a foot away from the window. I can't even begin to explain the sheer fear and horror I felt. Looking him right in the eyes, he had such a cold expression, totally emotionless. I ran, didn't look back. I was so fucking terrified. I remember nearly tripping in my slippers and having to shake them off so I could run faster. There is a long road between us and our neighbors where I was running to. I did make it. Their lights were on and I started pounding on their window. I was let in and they called the police for me. As I was inconsolable at that point, I kept telling them to please call my boyfriend as he was driving home too. When the police arrived, they found no one there. We didn't have cameras and neither did my neighbors. So we had no way of telling when or how they entered and left. I later found out he came through the window. The noise I heard, which I assumed was the door, was actually the window that fell downward and shut loudly after I assumed the man came in. There were also some scratches on the top of the chair that I put under the doorknob, signaling he had tried to push it open but was unable to. There wasn't much of a case. I couldn't ID him as he was wearing a face mask and a beanie. I don't even know what color hair he had, only that he was white, tall, slim, and a man. I only looked right at him for a mere second. If that, nothing was stolen either. We have cameras and a security system now, never making that mistake. ever again. I escaped an intruder by playing along. I escaped a man who broke into my home who had been stalking me for months. In 2014, I moved to England from Canada to gain work and travel experience and also to find myself. I ended up living in Essex with 3 other roommates. They were all women, all a bit older than I was. I was 24 at the time. Megan was 31, Cherry was 34, and Cassie was 38. Megan was from New York, Cherry from New Jersey, and Cassie from Poland. All 4 of us shared this 3-story flat. The back of our home was the living room and kitchen. The back wall was complete glass that looked out into the garden. The garden was completely fenced in. The house had an interesting dynamic to say the least. Tons of stories from that time in my life. I adored all my roommates except for Sherry. After living with Sherry for 7 months, I was over her antics. One day, I come home from work, I lock the door, make myself something to eat, and go up to bed. I brought some work home with me, so I am in my nightie with all these papers around me and my headphones on jamming out. I had headphones on because Sherry was out to dinner with work friends. That meant booze, and then soon after that a tantrum was surely to come. I just didn't want to have to listen to her crazy scream crying. I am working away, completely focused until I feel something. I look up to see a man standing over me. I don't register it right away and passively say, Cherry's room is on the 2nd floor, and continue to work. Sherry regularly brought strange men home. He doesn't leave. Again, Sherry's room is downstairs, you. He then interrupts. I am not here for Sherry. A cold chill iced my veins. My fight or flight kicked in just then. I start surveying the situation. I look him up and down. He has a bottle of Prosecco in one hand and a knife in the other. He is about 5 feet 10, wild muddy brown hair and black eyes. He has a light blue polo shirt on and one side of his collar is popped up and a distinct Manchester accent. Once I focused in, I realized his eyes were black because his pupils were completely dilated. Shit, I was in trouble. I needed an escape plan. Unfortunately, this man was standing in between me and my bedroom door. I needed to get downstairs, but I needed for him to think it was his idea. I decided to play along. Just then, he uses his knife to pop the cork. Prosecco started flowing onto my carpet. I said, "Oh no, let's clean that up. I prefer to drink out of a proper flute anyways." He nodded, replying, "Yeah, you're a proper classy bird. Let's go." I try to act as natural as possible. I try not to show that I am shaking all over and try to gain control over my breathing. We take a long journey down to the main floor of my flat, all 3 floors. He has the back of my nightie bunched up in one hand, and I could feel the point of the knife graze my back with his other. I was trying to playfully speak with him as we walked down the stairs. I couldn't tell you what I was saying. I was most likely rambling. I couldn't hear anything over my heart beating in my ears. We get to the bottom of the stairs, and there is a hallway to my left that leads to the front door. On my right, which is much closer to us, is the kitchen and living room. We make our way into the kitchen. I point to the cabinets that had the wine glasses. He said he knew where they were and start towards them. I now had the kitchen table in between us. It was time to run. I burst into a sprint down the hallway towards the door. My hands fumble over the locks, shaking and sweating. I swing open the door and see 2 men walking across the street. They must have been walking home from the train. There was a big train station in front of our home. I call out to them for help and suddenly I am flung onto the ground. Little pebbles piercing my skin sent sharp pains where they jabbed. The intruder pushed me out of the way to run and escape. One of the men chased after the intruder, while the other said for me to go inside while he surveyed my home and to call the police. I locked the doors and I called the police. While I am on the phone with dispatch, I maniacally run around the house to double-check all the windows and doors. Suddenly, I hear a loud bang on my door. I inform the dispatch of the banging and she informs me that the police weren't there yet. I thought it might be one of the gentlemen who helped me. I go to look out the eye hole and it's him, the intruder. He came back. He's banging on my door, screaming that I had his glasses and that he was not done with me. I absolutely freaked out. The dispatcher attempts to calm me down, but I am losing my ever-loving mind. She then said, "They are pulling onto your street now. You should hear their sirens." I did. Thank God. The intruder then blasts off. One officer jumps out of the passenger side while the car is still moving and chases after him. The second officer comes into my home, interviews me, and the two gentlemen collects evidence, takes photos. After some time of him being there, Cherry comes home and freaks out. Once the situation was explained to her, she said, "Oh my God, that could have been me." Yeah, thanks Sherry, it's all about you. The next morning, I am called in to identify a man they had in custody. I pointed him out. I go into a little room and the officer pulls out an evidence bag. He asked me if the items were mine. They were. They were my underwear and photos taken from my home. The officer informed me that the intruder had been stalking me for some time now. He estimates 3 months. He had made a nest outside our home on top of a hill that overlooked into our living room and kitchen. He is known as a sex offender and drug dealer. He then told me how lucky I was to get out practically unharmed. Others weren't so lucky. To the man who stalked me and broke into my home, let's not meet again. However, I would love to run into those two gentlemen again. Every day I am thankful for them.